Hi, this is Bob Dodge with Artemis Gallery. I started Artemis Gallery about 20 plus years ago, and like most of you, I started out as a collector. When I first started collecting, I was kind of a snob. My area of collecting interest was Greek pottery, and so an item like this would have been very high on my list of items that I would want to collect. And one area that I never wanted anything to do with was Pre-Columbian. I didn't think it was fine enough. I didn't think it was interesting enough. I didn't think it had any artistic merit. And then talking to another dealer, he said, well, what do you think about this piece? And I bought one piece and I studied it. And then I started to look at other Pre-Columbian pottery. And a thought occurred to me. Pre-Columbian pottery isn't anything even remotely similar to the classical Greek that I had fallen in love with, but it's got its own power and artistic merits that make it now one of my favorite parts of the ancient collecting world. So let me give you a few examples of some things that might change the way you think about Pre-Columbian pottery. So one of the things we often hear is Pre-Columbian pottery isn't as finely produced as the potteries of the classical world. Well, I take exception to that, and I'll show you a couple of pieces that I think kind of dispel that myth. So you take a look at this piece. This is a Mayan cylinder, very finely potted. Now, you also have to remember, the ancient Pre-Columbian cultures did not have the will like they did in ancient Rome and ancient Greece. So all of these were coil method, all done by hand. But if you look at the quality of the potting on this, it's flawless, the legs are fine, and then you look at the decoration itself. I mean, this took skill that was every bit as advanced as the skill that it took to create this. And then I'm going to show you a piece that predates classical Greek by about 500 years. And you take a look at this, and you look at how finely manufactured this was. I mean, everything about this is perfect. This is a Chavin stirrup vessel, and it was basically used to hold chicha, a type of fermented corn beer. And here is an Amazonian type mudfish, and it's incised with circles. Wonderful stirrup vessel or stirrup spout, beautiful firing clouds. This was produced about 3,000 years ago, and you look at the quality, and there are some Chavin ceramics that even predate this, that the quality is just unbelievable. So then, one of the other attributes that I like about Pre-Columbian pottery is it's very powerful. So their belief system about their gods and their fears and the things that they loved and hated were very different than the Western civilizations, which we, going through school, we were taught about the Greek gods and all that, but the Pre-Columbian cultures had their own series of gods. So they would worship things like flight and movement and the animal world. So here is a wonderful Kolyma pottery jar in the form of a swallow. And then next to it, here is an Pre-Columbian pottery figural piece. And just look at the power that this thing conveys. The painted face, the painted decoration. So this is a piece of pottery that was designed to go into a tomb to attend to their needs in the afterlife. And it just conveys such power and emotion and strength. Another piece that I really like in the Pre-Columbian world is Peruvian pottery, where they were doing portrait type vessels. And I don't have a Moche portrait vessel with me right now, but here is a late Chimu Inca pottery portrait vessel. And this represented an individual in the tribe or clan that actually existed. And they went so far as to include the flaws of the individual. So here's an older gentleman. You can see that he's very wrinkled, but he's got a cleft palate. And they didn't fear human deformities. They actually worshipped it and held these people in high esteem. So in Greek art, you almost never saw deformed people unless it was deliberately used to exaggerate. Satyrs with enlarged phalluses and things like that. In the pre-Columbian world, they revered hunchbacks and people with cleft palates and people with other deformities. So here is a lovely, again, beer vessel showing the elder gentleman, cleft palate, and this gentleman actually existed about 600 years ago and like us, lived and loved and was a cherished member of his society. So when you think about your collecting interest, don't be a snob and think, well, classical is all I'm interested in. I mean, trust me, I appreciate classical art with the best of them. My collection at home is probably 1/3 classical, 1/3 pre-Columbian, and 1/3 other. But I find that the two mix very well together, and to make a complete collection, try a piece of pre-Columbian and see how it fits in with your collection, because I know in my situation it has really enhanced my enjoyment at home. So Bob Dodge, Artemis Gallery, let us know if we can help. Thanks.